Hello everybody, welcome to Anunnaki History. We are live today with two special guests. That is Janet, Kira Lessin, and Sasha-Alex Lessin. And we have another special. It's not a host, it's not a guest, it's a co-host, I'm sorry. That is Billy Carson with us today. Hello Billy, hello Sasha, hello Janet, how are you?
Very good.
Aloha.
Aloha, aloha, you're all doing fine?
Yep, absolutely.
Yes.
It's lighting in here.
The topic today is, as you know, Anunnaki history, and I know you have a lot of knowledge that you want to share with us, right?
Yes,
Right.
Absolutely.
yes, right.
Let's start up with Billy. Billy, let me ask you one question first. How did you get into Anunnaki history?
Well, it's a great question. How does anyone get into Anunnaki history? When I started researching, I was doing amateur astronomy back in the early 2000s, and I started researching the precession of the equinoxes. And through that research, I learned that the precession was actually speeding up, and this is the movement of the constellations in the sky in correlation to Earth's wobble. And it takes usually about 27,000 years to make a complete round. But when I discovered that precession was speeding up, I said, what in the world could cause precession of the equinoxes? What could make the stars move faster in the sky? Is the wobble of the Earth speeding up? And then I realized that it had to be based on the movement of the sun itself through our solar system. So once I started researching the movement of the sun through the solar system, I realized that the only thing that can cause the precession to speed up if the Earth's wobble is constant is that the sun must be orbiting something. And so the deeper I went into this, the more and more information I've discovered that led me to believe that we're living in a binary solar system, that we actually have potentially two suns or our sun is orbiting another huge heavenly body. And that's the only thing that can explain the speeding up of the precession of the equinoxes. And as I delved even deeper into it, I started finding out information where scientists, independent researchers were starting to say that there's another star in our solar system called Nemesis. Some call it Nemesis, some call it Planet X. NASA and the government called it Planet X in 1983. And they never said it orbited our star in a particular manner, but they did say that they discovered a mystery body out there that was responsible for some of the perturbations in our solar system of the planets. But this led me on a whole path into trying to figure out why. And then it led me to the Anunnaki, it led me to ancient history, it led me to the Sumerian texts, where they talk about a rogue planet captured by our solar system that potentially is orbiting its own star. What I believe to be now a brown dwarf star that it orbits, and it probably has a few other satellites along with it, and it's on a retrograde orbit coming in and out of our solar system every 3,600 to 3,800 years or so. So that's what got me into it. I mean, literally researching, the stars and just doing amateur astronomy. That's how I discovered the Anunnaki.
Great. How about you, Sasha and Karen? How did you get into the Anunnaki?
I'd like to just at least talk about what Billy just said, because it's very exciting, the convergence. Andy Lloyd has shown by infrared and other kinds of inferences. I'm not sitting in the right place.
There we go. Just pretty, honey. There we go.
Anyone's got a wife knows what I'm doing, right?
Just like your mother when you were a kid. Look at the audience, son. Look at the audience.
And that all the planets in the inner solar system are getting hotter and hotter because Nemesis is coming closer, and that something like Andy Lloyd estimates like 85% of the increased warming on this planet is due to the nearing of Nemesis. 15%, which is enough to kill us, is due to pollution. So it doesn't mean to quit on pollution, but a lot of what's being caused is by this movement closer, and that's what's causing the same speeding. That's fantastic the way you observe that and converge. When a bunch of intelligent people go from different angles and converge on information like this, that adds credence to it as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Janet,
Thank
can
you,
tell
man.
Yeah.
Oh, how we got involved. Well, I've always been involved. I'm an Anunnaki experiencer, and I'm an experiencer of all different extraterrestrial encounters throughout my life. And I had an older brother, and we were sci-fi fanatics and Star Trek fanatics. He's 7 years older than I am. And so my middle sister was kind of like, these people are crazy, and the two of us were always talking about science fiction. And so back in 1977, I think it was 76 or 77, first of all, Roddenberry was talking about all this stuff, and Heinlein and Asimov and J. Allen
Hynek.
Hynek. They were all talking about this back in the conferences in the early 70s and alluding to it and putting it cryptically into their science fiction novels and into Star Trek episodes. And so that was being introduced to us. And then my brother discovered the Sitchin books, and so then, he bought me a whole set for Christmas, and then I was reading them. They're a little bit dry, so they're hard to get through. So in 1997, I met Dr. Lessin, and, how do you tell your new partner that you are an alien contactee and a UFO researcher, investigator? I've been doing this since I was, like 6, 7, 8 years old, literally 9 years old. I remember having groups out in the backyard as a kid, calling in, UFOs. We would actually call them in just like Stephen Greer did many years later. So I said to myself, well, what do you do? So I got William Bromley's Gods of Eden, which is a very good intro book to the subject, and I stuck that on the back of the toilet where men read. And so it sat there for the longest time, and then one day he came out and said, honey, look at what's this, and so is there more? So I said, yes, follow me. So we went down to Borders, and we bought, I had lost all my copies of the books through the years through different moving. I moved from Pennsylvania to Oahu, so I had to repurchase them, which was good. So we bought every copy they had and ordered what they didn't, and a monster was born. That was 1997. He just started immersing him, like you did, Billy, just obsessed. And so then we are, I have a very magical life, and our best friends ran the Prophets Conference, and they came to us and said, well, we're starting a new certification program with this guy, Zecharia Sitchin. And we went, what? Zecharia Sitchin? Stop. So we started studying with Zecharia Sitchin around late 97, early 98. There were a whole series of conferences. First one was in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Then we followed him to Florida, and there were a bunch of them in California and some in Philadelphia. And so we traveled. He was no longer traveling, but we went to the conferences, and these people were called Sitchinites that gathered, and there's still, hundreds of them left alive, although we're an elderly crowd and we're starting to die off. So we need to get this information out. But and then Sitchin died, crossed over in 2010. But before he died, he said, he didn't use internet, so Dr. Lessin had to write him a letter and stamp it and mail it to him, and then he typed it back and wrote back and said, please, Dr. Lessin, I would like you to start a program, since you're a college professor. He has his PhD from UCLA in anthropology. Please start a program where you will educate people. So he was already doing it, but he got the stamp of approval. And of course, it's not going to be one person. We need all of us. We need Billy. We need you, Thomas. We need everybody to research, because it's a far too complicated subject. And then we have, the governments that are hiding information from us, and they actually twist it and warp it, so they'll put out a piece of the truth with disinformation, so we get all confused and we throw the baby out with the bathwater. So I've always been a researcher, and my whole life is dedicated to it. And my primary interests are, the Anunnaki first, because I believe through my bloodline, and I think, Billy, we've discussed this as well, is that I am very much related to them. I'm part of the Masonic Illuminati royals, but I'm the good witch, not the bad witch, as Billy. We're kind of like the bastard line, but we're the ones that are saying, okay, this is who we are, but let's do something positive with this and create the positive timeline. And I'm an Enkiite, and I'm here for the Age of Aquarius, and I actually am an Aquarian, so it's kind of ironic, but it's who I am. Sasha, do you want to add to that?
I think that's pretty complete.
Well, here, add your 2 cents. What's it like being an Anunnaki? What was that like, Sitchin asking you to take it over? He's got the PhD. I'm just a girl.
Well, first of all, Zechariah saved anthropology for me, because the anthropologists were hung up on an evolutionary model that said that we evolved from lemur tarsier type critters, and that we'd find a missing link between the ancestor of Bigfoot, that's Homo erectus, and us if we just kept looking. After 140 years, when there was no missing link, it was obvious that it was by interventionism and planet seeding rather than by Darwinian evolution. Macroevolution is patently false, even though microevolution, like getting a bigger horn or bigger body, is indeed true. And plus all the anomalies of human beings found all the way from the tip of Tierra del Fuego, way thousands of years before they were supposed to have crossed over a land bridge, which later people did, the Inuit and others did cross over. And there was evidence of contact in the Americas from both the Pacific and the Atlantic, and it goes on and on and on with so much evidence. I was disgusted with anthropology because you couldn't keep a job unless you said evolution, 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 but it was bull. And so now I'm free to talk on the internet to everybody and tell them what research is. And the other thing is, Sitchin didn't know enough. He knew enough, but he didn't want to publish everything and get it all confounded with the other stuff. But there's a hell of a lot more extraterrestrial races than just the Anunnaki that have been interactive on Earth, and way before the Anunnaki ever got here.
Correct.
Very interesting, very interesting. I'm just going to interrupt here and say to those that are viewing, this is a live video. We are live. This is Sasha-Alex Lessin, Janet Kira Lessin, and Billy Carson, and me, Thomas Mikey, that are live today now. And we have Sasha's cat as well. Also, say hi to what's the name of your cat, Anu?
Her name is Isis, but that got a bad reputation. So her nickname is Furball.
Okay, we have them all live here today, pets and researchers here. If anybody of you out there want to ask a question, use the live chat box to ask your question, and we will see if we can find an answer to it. We cannot guarantee that we can answer every question asked, but we will take some of the best and bring them up. Billy, back to you.
Yes.
I would like to ask you which part of the Anunnaki history is the part you remember best. It's just like if you have a chapter from the Bible, or which chapter from the Anunnaki history is the one that you remember best or like the most?
The one that I actually like the most or remember the best so far has been Alalu actually arriving here on Earth, and his experience in basically almost like a sci-fi movie, battling his way out, getting through the Hammered Bracelet, which would be the asteroid belt, making it towards the inner planets, scanning the Earth with crystal scanners and crystal devices, more like probably flat screens or tablets, and finding the location to splash down, and the whole part about him getting out and using a tool to breathe the air to see if it was safe before he took off his helmet, and testing the water and all this, and how he transmits back then to his home planet that he discovered the gold. I mean, it's just an amazing, it's like a movie. It's just an amazing, that's like one of the best parts of the Anunnaki history is the part of him getting here. Now, he becomes very infamous later on with some of the stuff that he's done. He was already infamous before he got here, but with the battle and the crazy stuff that he did in the fight before they sentenced him to death. I don't even want to bring that up. It hurts me to think about it. But it's just it was an amazing story, the way that because it lets you in on letting you know that, first of all, they're highly advanced technology. They have the capability of building not only a spaceship, but they had a fleet of spaceships that they had sent out before to try to get here. It also tells you that the asteroid belt back then, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of years ago, was a lot more tumultuous, and that it wasn't just flowing around in its own little solid orbit, that a lot of these rocks and stones are really maybe moving all over the place at random times, and they hadn't really settled yet. So it must have been not too long after Tiamat exploded, maybe who knows, a few thousand, maybe a couple million. Geological timescales it's like a couple of seconds, but it was a lot more tumultuous to get through the hammered bracelet or the asteroid belt. So that lets you know that, it lets you know that they had space weapons. I mean, it's just an amazing story, man. And it's like, it's hard to put that piece aside, the fact that beings that are most likely at least 1 million years ahead of us technologically and even spiritually came to this planet. So when people always worried about an alien invasion, the invasion already happened a very, very long time ago.
We have the first question asked, that is from Rachel Foreman, who asked, are the Anunnaki still here?
You want to take that, Sasha?
Yeah, they're still here. If we just show the slides, it'll give us something to relate to visually. It would be perhaps a good thing to show the slides.
You want to share your screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can get that working.
Because I can illustrate the things that you were just talking about, Billy.
Right.
Oops. Let me do that again. Share screen.
So here we go. This is an experiment.
Start. Slideshow. From beginning.
Okay, so we're going to talk about 4 slices of Anunnaki history. Can you see them?
Yep.
One slice will be about the gold, one will be about the slaves, one will be about the cities, and one will be about the nuking. In terms of gold, we'll just say in summary, because we're going to go into each of these in detail, that the Anunnaki, who are people just like us, only way bigger, from the planet Nibiru, came to Earth 450,000 years ago or so. They adapted their genome to Earth to make us slaves about 300,000 years ago, and they up-leveled the slaves about 200,000 years ago. After the deluge, they gave us cities, kings, commerce, and war. That's about 11,000 BCE. And then they nuked Sinai and Canaan at around 2025 BCE, and the fallout blew back over Iraq and killed Sumer. Next slide, Janet will say.
Okay,
that's
anyway,
great.
This is our that we've written so far. We've got a Marduk book coming out soon. Anyway, enough of the commercial. Okay. Go ahead. So Sitchin,
as Billy said, read clay tablets and cylinder seals that the Anunnaki dictated, and this was way after it happened. They dictated about 2016 BCE, and it was about events that took place way long ago, as long as 500,000 years ago.
There's Zechariah Sitchin.
So let's look at each one of these things. First of all, the giant Homo sapiens from Nibiru came to Earth for gold, added Homo erectus genomes to their genome, and made slaves for themselves, us.
And then they tried to drown us in what we call Noah's flood. After the flood, they reclaimed the Earth and they ruled via Noah's sons. And they gave us civilization and made us fight each other. So we've been fighting all along, and we continue to this day.
Okay, and we already said that they did this terrible nuking of their own area. It blew back on them. And this shows the orbit that Billy was describing, that Nibiru, once a rogue wandering planet, we've learned lately in astronomy that there's millions and billions of rogue planets. This one got caught in a dual orbit between Nemesis and Solaris, our sun. And so let's look at the story.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second here, because one of the viewers here are asking if there is a link to those books you just showed.
They're on Amazon.com, and they're on my website, enkispeaks.com and aquarianradio.com. Okay. Several places you can make to purchase them.
And before you continue, we are going to take some questions when Sasha and Janet are finished with their screen sharing. So be patient. I can see the questions are coming in here. Sasha and Janet, please continue.
Well,
Okay, I just want to say that one thing that happened that we'll get to later on perhaps is that Nibiru sped up at a given point and Nibiru itself started coming in at a rate and changed its direction so that Uranus was tipped on its side, and it caused all kinds of things. But basically, Nibiru started coming way faster. Okay, Janet.
Since you designed this, why don't you just read it? Because I haven't even seen this yet.
Okay, Nibiru's atmosphere degraded. 600,000 years ago, volcanoes quit spewing their ash, which had been protecting the ionosphere, and left a hole up there. Nibiru chilled when it was in deep space and heated when it got too close to Nemesis and Solaris. The king of Nibiru, King LAHMA, didn't listen to his scientists. The scientists said either nuke the volcanoes, it might spew ash all over the planet and save us, or you could take gold and powder it and make monoatomic gold, float it up, and that would protect the atmosphere too. Anyway, the king didn't do anything. His wife said, just pray to the creator of all. Dig it? They believed in the creator of all. They didn't think they were gods. But anyway, the wife said, just pray. Forget about all this science junk. That was Queen Trump. Anyway, in any case, Prince Alalu led a bunch of other princes. They took the gate. Prince Alalu chased the old guy up the top of a tower and threw him off and yelled, I'm king now. And, up steps Anu, the guy who's supposed to be king after LAHMA, and says, what do you mean you're king? I'm supposed to be next. Look, says Alalu, let's not have any more civil war. We almost killed everybody on the planet with the last one. Why don't we marry your son Enki, your oldest son, he's a great scientist and everything, to my beautiful daughter Damkina, and whoever they have as the first son they'll have will be my successor. After I'm not king anymore, then whatever son you and my daughter, your son and my daughter have, they'll be the next king. So Anu said, okay, I don't want any civil war. I'll go for it. And so Anu made him there's some representations of this great scientist known as Adonai in our Bibles. So Damkina and Enki married, and they did have a kid, Marduk, Prince Marduk, who's a legal successor to Nibiru's upstart King Alalu. And Anu took the number 2 position, keep him near, as cupbearer. And there's a representation of Anu as a young man and Alalu on the throne of Nibiru. So Alalu tried nuking the volcanoes, but that didn't really work. They didn't start the volcanoes going again. He sent a rocket to Earth, but it hit an asteroid, and there in ancient Sumerian is their reaction before they all got killed. Okay, so Anu after a while said, I've had enough of this nonsense. You ain't doing it. I challenge you. Let's fight to see. I want my rightful kingship. So they had a big battle. They took off all their clothes. These are great big 12 to 18-foot guys, hand-to-hand combat, bodies naked. They fought with each other in a public square. They're knocking down doors and breaking walls, and whoever wins is going to be the king. And Anu won. He's the ruler of Nibiru. His friends carry him off to the palace, and Alalu sneaks into where the rockets that held the nuke-armed rockets that they had been using for the volcanoes, and he stole one. He landed. First he blasted through, and I think Billy made this point really well, I'm skipping it, but it's really worth saying. He used nukes to blast through the asteroid belt, and that evidently was very upsetting to people in the Federation. When you use nukes in space, it changes the way they travel. So he blasted through, and he landed on this huge marsh that goes out way beyond where Basara now goes. It used to be a marsh. And right there in the Persian Gulf. There's a little map so you can sort of see what we're talking about, see where my pointer's going. I don't know if you can see a pointer over there. Okay. And then I click this for the next slide, but nothing happened.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
Fix it, Janet will fix it, I hope.
I will see if it comes
We're back.
There you
okay,
go.
so Alalu gets his communicator aimed at Nibiru, and he says, I've got gold on Earth. I've got missiles to blast you unless you give me back my crown. Well, the military council said, I know what we'll do. Let's send Enki. He's Alalu's son-in-law, and he's your son, and see if they can mollify the old ex-king. And so they sent Anzu, who was probably a grandson of Alalu, as the pilot. And so Enki does not want to use nukes in space. There's a representation of Enki. What he used was his water cannon. And he used all the water up in the ship, and the ship was overheating, and they had to land on Mars, and they found there was a lake on Mars. There was atmosphere. It was too thin to breathe, but it was atmosphere, and they filled up the water again and proceeded on to Earth. When they got to Earth, Enki and his personal pilot stole Alalu's missiles and hid them in a cave in Africa. So that they were the only two people that knew where these nuclear missiles were on Earth. And Abgal, who helped Enki hide the nukes, is going to use this information later, if we get to it, to betray Enki. So Anu sent rockets to freight gold from Earth to its moon. He set up bases on other planets. The idea is there's less thrust to get off of Mars, particularly, than it is to get off Earth. And they got volunteers from the African gold mines to come and work the mines, and they worked for years and centuries underground, and things were really terrible for them. In the meantime, Enlil, Yahweh, who was sent down to take command over Enki, and the idea of Anu was that he was going to get his son in there as the commander and basically cut Enki and Marduk out of the line of succession. So Enlil raped the chief medical officer, and he was exiled to Africa. But when Abgal drove him to Africa in his plane, and he said, listen, Enlil, here's where Enki hid his nukes, and here's the code. With these, you can reclaim rule, and I'm your man. But Enlil said, well, let's wait and see. I'm not sure I'm going to go nuclear on. I might keep this for secret for now. And sure enough, the girl got pregnant and by the rape, and the council got her to marry Enlil. So he came back from Enlil came back from exile, and he married Sud, and he became monogamous. And they called her Ninlil then. Okay, slice 2. That was slice 1, how they got here. Slice 2 is about slaves. The first successful slaves were made about 300,000 years ago, and basically the Anunnaki adopted their genome to Earth to make us slaves. They had studied Erectus, which was a Bigfoot's ancestor, and this is a very interesting creature, Erectus in his modern form, as Bigfoot is still here, and they're telepathic, and they are empathetic, things that the Anunnaki weren't. The Anunnaki talked. They weren't telepathic at all, and they certainly were pretty cold people. Now, Enki had a plan. He got the miners to mutiny. He used this as an excuse to adapt the genome and create workers. The way he got it is he told the slaves, hey, listen, and these are first the Nibirian slaves. They became slaves. Slow down. Get the bosses to come here, and then we'll deal with them. So in the meantime, they're doing all these experiments. And they have come up with a successful creature. And just when the miners are surrounding the chief and his main lieutenant, Ninurta, there's everything's going to be really bad. Enki comes up and says, wait, boys, we don't have to have this. I can make slaves, and they'll do the work for us. And so they started making all these combinations, and the first successful human being that they made was born by the chief scientist herself, NIMAH, and she implanted this zygote, which was partly Homo erectus, but mostly Nibiran, in her womb. And the first child of our species that was born was Adamu. His hair was black. His skin was dark red, like the clay of Africa. And he had a foreskin, which Nibirans lacked. And so here's the very famous picture of NIMAH with Adam. What does she say, Jen?
With mine own hands I hath made it. Because she was not only the one who bore it, but she was a geneticist that figured out the exact formula that you need to have, and it had to be carried in a Anunnaki female body, and that was the only thing that worked. Otherwise, the children that came out were they didn't work very well. They couldn't master language. They couldn't take directions. They were just useless.
And the other thing is they had, you have to understand, they have her mitochondrial DNA, and it gets even more complex.
Yeah, we're not going to get today. Go ahead. And then the second one was Damkina bore the second child.
The first, after about another 100 years of experimentation, they developed an even brighter child. And this one they placed in the womb of Enki's wife, Damkina. And the second human, and especially the one that's going to be the breeder of our species, was a blonde, white-skinned, sandy-haired girl named Tiamat. So that Tiamat now has mitochondrial DNA from both NINMAH and Damkina. And Thoth, Enki's son, made her fertile. He found the XX and XY genes and made them fertile. Now this Tiamat was something else. She was a brilliant, brilliant person. And it wasn't just that she had good genes, but that Damkina and NIMAH and Enki loved these two children and taught them everything and raised them just like Anunnaki kids. And when Commander Enlil heard about them, he wanted to see what was going on. He said, send them up to your place, Enki, right next to mine in near Basara, and let's see about these kids. And so they went back there, and she imbibed of the psychedelic plants that they had there, this one particular tree, DMT, or perhaps it was a great marijuana bush, but something or other. And the point is that when she had intercourse with Adam, it wasn't just like animals doing it. She really had this total realization. I'm a separate person. You're a separate person. Oh my gosh, we're merging. Oh, I feel everything. Everything's alive. You know, she had a Kundalini awakening. And here's Enki and Damkina and the kids before they come up. Now she's pregnant. And who comes by? Their next door neighbor. Yeah. There's the Commander Enlil. He says, what have you done? But little Tiamat doesn't know. She just comes right up to him and says, hi, I'm Tiamat. Look what I made. See this table? You can figure out all the different geometric shapes on the table. And look at these clothes I made. And she's just chatting. And boy, Enlil was really uptight. You made this little kid smart. Oh, my gosh. You were pregnant. Get her out of here. You're supposed to make slaves, not smart kids. And meanwhile, Tiamat is aghast. She's saying, why have you tied my daddy up? He's in constraints, and he's got this thing on him. This is the commander's son, Ninurta, with his weapons. That's their symbol for weapons. So Enlil sent Tiamat and Adam to Zimbabwe, to Enki's digs there, to breed. Okay, so now they're getting all they're getting gold in South Africa. They're boating it to Iraq. In Iraq, they refine the gold. The Igigi, the name of the astronauts, rocket it to Mars and transshipped it to Nibiru, and the gold dust is lessening Nibiru's ozone hole. So that's what's happening in Africa. The hybrids are digging South Africa's gold. It's being smelted. It's ultimately rocketed to Mars base and Nibiru. And basically, the slaves would just say, work and find gold, and you'll be rewarded, and keep making babies. We give you food and housing. You give us gold. Keep making babies. In 200,000 BCE, Nibiru's nearing killed Mars base. It ruined Earth's crops. Things got bad. Now, what happened is the smart slaves mutinied and got away and started their own culture in Africa. And some of them just were put out when they were too old. And but the slaves, from the Anunnaki point of view, they were getting stupider and stupider because they would work less and less. But from my point of view, they're getting smarter and smarter because they're taking care of themselves. But in any case, there's a lot of pressure on Enki now. Make smarter slaves. What he means is more obedient ones. That's what Enlil says. But Enki's got a great idea. He takes the 2 prettiest girls he can find among the slaves, and he makes a baby with each of them. And the little girl they make is called Titi, and the little boy they make is Adapa. And Damkina Enki put lots of attention on these brilliant children. These are even smarter than the other ones. Damkina teaches Titi all the things that Anunnaki women need to know. And Enki taught Adapa to raise herds, to take care of estates, to run farms, and mostly to boss around the Adamite, the other kinds of the earlier hybrids. And there's another representation. So Enki sends Adapa at the request of King Anu and his son Ningishita and his son Dumuzi. All these are 3 his sons, but the other 2, at least Dumuzi doesn't know Adapa is really Enki's kid. But Ningishita gives a tablet that Enki gave to Anu, and it says, "Don't give Adapa immortality." We'll come back to why that's important. The third slice I want to be able to go to in this very short little presentation is about the civilization. After the flood, and you'll have to come to the Mars conference to hear all about the flood and other things, but after the flood, they decided, well, we don't want to do any work. We got to make some more slaves, but I don't want to deal with the slaves directly, Enlil says. And so he's talked into this thing. Well, why don't we just, we'll be in big temples, and we'll have these kings, the sons of Noah, who was another one of the sons of Enki, the sons of Noah, Shem, Japhet, and Ham the Dark, and we'll rule from them. They'll be our kings, and we'll give them some civilization, but not so much that they overwhelm us and ever attack Nibiru. And so that's it. And they start acting as gods in their temples. Here's Noah's sons. Noah was Enki's son. So for 1,000 years, these 2 competitive lineages, the lineage of Enki and Marduk on the one hand, and Enlil and Ninurta on the other, cooperated. They reclaimed Iraq from the mud. They dug riverbeds and canals. They built cities of up to 20,000 people. They just everything was under mud. There used to be 4 rivers that ran through Mesopotamia, but 2 of them they didn't even bother unburying. But when they finally did, they found, oh yeah, look down. There was something wider than the Mississippi, got covered with the mud. But they opened the Tigris and the Euphrates, and they gave us so much of what we have now: crops, beasts, plows, wheels, carts, chariots, bronze, bricks, big buildings, canals, taxes. They ruled through the slaves.
Something we kept in Texas.
And this is the kind of temple they lived in, these great big step temples. They, of course, basic thing was brick making. They had to have kilns for that. They gave us animals, domesticated animals. They gave us the plow. First they had women pulling it, and then beasts.
Women.
They gave us riding and schools.
No man, just women.
Trade became a really big thing, particularly in the days of Nanar, who said, hey, you don't need to have war all the time. Just get everybody in debt and everybody owe money to everybody else, and we'll just take the cream off the top. Okay, the last thing that I'll get in this very brief thing is about the nuking. And I'll let Janet wrap a while. No, I'll get
it. You want to go fast.
She wants me to go fast. So Marduk and his son that he had. Now Marduk said, I'm aligning with the hybrids. And he married Sarpanit, who was a
hybrid.
Huh?
Sarpanit is a hybrid. Human.
Yeah.
Keep going. I'll shut up. Go ahead.
One of the after Prince Marduk lost his job at Mars base because of the stones that were hitting everything, he came down to Earth and he got a job driving around Enki's grandson from Adapa, and the grandson had a beautiful daughter named Sarpanit, and he fell in love with Sarpanit and had a kid with him named Nabu. And they basically created Babylon or Babil to be a hybrid and Anunnaki mixed place, not like the other cities where it was the Anunnaki were off in their separate temples. Babylon was supposed to be a place where the Anunnaki and humans could get together and be one force, which would first take over Earth and then take over Nibiru, which Marduk felt was rightfully his by the deal that Anu and Alalu had made at the get-go. Well, so Nabu was going up and down Canaan, getting the cities to come over to them. They were trying to get the spaceport that Enlil was running in Sinai and the mission control in Jerusalem, which they had shifted to after the mud ruined all their space facilities in Iraq. And he sent Abraham and Lot to go spy on Nabu's cities in Canaan, Sodom, Gomorrah, and Zoar, and then he sent his spies, Ninurta, his son, and Nergal, that's the turncoat brother of Marduk, to go see, did Sodom and Gomorrah really go over to the other side? And they had a meeting, and they said, look, let's bomb the shit. Let's bomb them with nukes. And Enki walked out. I mean, you can't do that. He didn't think anybody knew where the nukes were. But Enlil knew. He wired, or whatever he did, beamed his father on Nibiru. Give your okay for the bombing, because if he takes Earth, he'll get all these millions of Earthlings. There's only a few thousand of us, and he'll probably take Nibiru too. He's a genius. Watch out for him. Anu says, bomb. So in 2025 BCE, the Anunnaki nuked Sodom and the south bank of the Salt Sea, which flooded Sodom, Gomorrah, and Zoar. Nergal nuked the South Shore, and that created this great big flood down here. And so all these cities got this flooded. Zoar, Sodom, and Gomorrah were just flooded out. And there's the flood descending on these cities. And this is what's left of Sodom. And the whole Sinai, there's this dark area of Tephra. Only recently has part of it been reclaimed by Israeli technology. But it was known as the Dead Sea. Plants wouldn't grow, animals couldn't live there for a long time. But then the radiation blew back over Sumer. They didn't expect that, but it didn't blow over totally over Babylon. And besides that, Marduk and also Enki had fallout shelters because they knew. Ninurta's wife, that's Ninurta is the champion of Enlil's group, she wouldn't leave her people. She stayed in the hospital in the city of Lagash in Sumer and died with them.
Okay.
Next time, I'll tell you all about Marduk.
And that was the first 45 minutes. That was great. That is amazing, truly amazing. There is a lot of questions going on here. One of them is, where do you have all this knowledge from, Sasha?
I got it all here in my tuchus. I memorize things inadvertently. I I go over this material, and it's all stuck in my brain. My brain works like a computer file, and I just go down menus and submenus.
Sasha's a genius. He went to UCLA at 16. He could have gone when he was 8 or 9, and he got straight A's. So he's one of those geniuses on the planet. I try to keep up.
There is another person here calling Anunnaki is writing Anunnaki is fallen angels. How do you think about that?
That's a pretty good way of looking at it. If you don't dig their trip, you call them fallen. However, what that usually refers to is the Igigi, the astronaut corps that Marduk headed. They were based on Mars base. They had a geocentric station above the pyramid. They shuttled the gold back and forth. They were the Igigi. Twice they revolted and tried to take over Earth. One time their commander, Anzu, had been given the job of running the place after Alalu died. It was defeated by Ninurta. And then later on, after Marduk's wedding, he invited all his friends who had been on Mars base with him before it was ruined to come down for his wedding, and then took off with Sarpanit to Egypt. And then the Igigi, the fallen angels, took over the landing platform at Lebanon and basically held everybody hostage. And Marduk says to Enlil, you better let them settle on Earth. They want to have a family life. They want to live here too. And if you don't, they're going to blast them. So at this point, Enlil had to give them settlement. Most of them settled near in Canaan. Shamgaz or Azazel hung with Marduk and settled in Egypt and had a lot of influence in Egypt. And so basically, the Igigi descendants and the lineages that they bred with the 200 hybrid women, super hybrid women that they stole after Marduk left. These guys seized 200 women, and that became the basis of their lineages. And the many people refer to these people as the fallen ones, or and many of them ultimately were recruited to run the Illuminati, which of course runs the planet to this day.
But to be fair, Mars was a very harsh place to live, and they were providing them any kind of, play or resources. It was just work,
beer.
Work.
They were pissed,
and they had no women. They had no fire.
No women.
They wanted to, Mars, and that was a movie called Mars Needs Women. It's really interesting. In the 50s or 60s, Mars Needs Women. Yeah, it was a movie.
I think that you may be able to even correlate these Igigi, who people tend to confused with the fallen. Not that they're confused with fallen angels. It's just that from a spiritual perspective, a lot of people still believe that that angels are these mystical beings that live in this other realm. I just believe that that they're all people, and just like us, and that Genesis 6 might be talking about the Igigi when it says the sons of God, came and got the daughters of women, and they basically took them and made them wives and had children with them. I just think that's a reference to the Igigi, and any fallen angel reference, I believe you're right that it's the Igigi.
If you look at the angels, and one of the most dramatic ones is when Jacob is coming back with his wives, and he sends his children and his wives ahead, because he doesn't know how his brother Esau is going to treat him. And so he comes upon one of these so-called angels, and he wrestles with him. And this is Jacob. And Jacob is such a strong dude that even though his hip gets dislocated in the fight, he pins the guy and he said, I'm not going to let you out until you give me a blessing. And he said, okay, I'll give you a blessing. You are Israel. That means he who defeated an angel or a god. And so Israel, of course, is the ancestor of Joseph, through whose line comes Moses, and so that's all a big part of the story. But the angel was a man, a big, strong man, but a big, strong human can beat him too.
Yeah, angel just means messenger. The angel.
That's all it means.
The angel of the Anunnaki were the ones that were the messenger, and the archangel was just the head of the messenger corps. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think you brought up. Oh, go ahead, Thomas.
There is a person asking or saying, it's not a question, Babel was a tower of astronomy. What's your thoughts from that?
Oh, I'd love to. That's quite accurate. Yes, that's. Thank you, listener. The Tower of Babel was definitely. What is it?
You don't have to go up. They can't see you. Come back and look into the screen.
My screen. Okay. So
the screen, yeah.
What happened was after Marduk had created a situation so his younger brother Dumuzi got murdered. Running away from his men, Marduk was exiled to North America until Anu visited Earth in 3850 BCE. And at that time, he forgave Marduk and let Marduk return. And Marduk was allowed to settle at Babil, which was a corner of Enki's place at Eridu. And in Babil, he built this, not just a tower, but a city for both Anunnaki and hybrids. And the tower itself had it was called an Earth Nibiru communication device. And this communication device let him see on a screen all the incoming traffic, the movement of the stars and the planets, all the movement of aircraft on the Earth, and an observation tower. And Enlil realized he would no longer have a monopoly on this traffic and have all the information exclusively. And he realized that that was the end of his rule, and that the rightful ruler in Marduk's own eyes of Earth, Marduk, now had the same capacity, and he had to stop it. So he sent he warned him, we're gonna get rid of you if you keep doing this, and that didn't work. Enlil sent his son Ninurta, the champion, and he bombed the Tower of Babylon, and he made sure that no two nations, no two cities had the same language or the same script. And then they started the program of deliberately pitting them against each other, having competing religions, having competing economies, and having competing national boundaries, so that they would fight each other and never realize that the few hundred Anunnaki that were running things were running it, and they still are to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to go back to one thing that you brought up when you were doing that slide presentation, which a lot of people don't understand about the Anunnaki, is that, first of all, they masqueraded as gods, and these are the gods in the Bible. There is not a god of the Bible. These are the Anunnaki, especially when you're talking about the Old Testament. And when you go into, a lot of Christians don't really understand or know this, unfortunately, that because they're not studying their own book. In the book of Deuteronomy, in the Bible, you come across stories where it's very evident that these are Anunnaki kings sending human beings to other cities to kill, rape, literally saying rape, kill the children, kill the animals, take the spoils of war. If you find a virgin, take her as your wife. What kind of a God, a real God, an all-knowing and loving creator God, would say these kind of things to people? This obviously is not a real God in the perception of a human being. It's an Anunnaki masquerading as a god or a king over these people, and using humans as cattle to go and destroy other places for resources and land.
We actually have to look at the word God. It just means Lord, which means king. So we need to use a different word for consciousness or source. So we have to separate that in people's minds so they understand that God isn't sitting up on a throne in heaven, which is just an Anunnaki. That source exists, and so you can still have your spiritual beliefs, but people are confusing the two, and then they're saying, well, God wouldn't act that way, so they throw out the baby with the bathwater. But source, consciousness, acts completely different than the Anunnaki, who are very unconscious, although they're striving to become conscious, because they're 3D, third-dimensional physicality beings, just like we are. They're on this level, but a lot of the beings can go through different dimensions and understand the totality of existence. So we have to tie into the Earth-bound Anunnaki or the 3D-bound Anunnaki to higher levels of existence, and that's where we can become enlightened and ascend to become more conscious and aware. And that's why they like to use entheogens, because entheogens allowed them to get past their enormous egos and high intellects and set that aside and then access the information. And they were aware of source. They were aware of the creator of all, they called it. It wasn't a male or female. It was just the creator of all.
Yeah, one of the ways you can really test out whether, first of all, the Anunnaki did not believe they were gods. They said there was a creator of all, and they didn't have shrines or temples or anything like that. But if you put yourself in Abraham's place, Abraham's wife was old, and he took a secondary wife. Her name was Hagar. She was an Egyptian princess, and they had a beautiful boy named his name's slipping me now.
Wait a minute. The guy who went off and founded Islam.
Anyway, Hagar's son was raised. Wow, what happened to my...
Where's Hagar's son?
Ishmael.
Ishmael. Yeah.
So Ishmael was being raised as a prince. You're going to have all this, son, says Abe. All of Canaan's going to be yours. Oh, yeah, I'm going to be... And so then Yahweh, this Anunnaki, says to Abe, hey, put him out in the desert to let him die there. I got better plans for you, better genes. You're going to have a baby with your wife from Turkey, and so his they're right. The baby was no. First, I'm coming to the point where God tells him, "I'm going to make Sarah pregnant."
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, and so then there's this period when she's pregnant, and then the wife Sarah says, "Get rid of that slave girl. I'm going to have a baby now," and so that's when he gets Isaac. So now, first of all, he's put his wife, his secondary wife, and his son out to die in the desert. And then he's got the second child. Now this one's going to be my successor. His name's Isaac. And now Yahweh, this guy who's pretending to be a god, says, "Hey, show you love me. Go take him where no one can see and kill him. Kill him. Show you love him more than me." And Abraham says, "Yeah, boss." Now, ask yourself, go to the God place inside you. If some external God said, "Kill your kid," would you do that? Is that God? My dad, who was a real wise guy, said, no God would do that. That's a pathological murderer.
Right.
Absolutely. You hit it right on the head, man. I really, and I don't want to get into the religion aspect of it, but it ties in. I really want people who believe in the Bible to go read and study Deuteronomy. Read Deuteronomy, study it, research it, and you will come to the realization that there's another entity or entities that are giving out these commands, and not the true all-in-loving source that you can really tap into spiritually. I think that's very important for people to understand that they've really confused these people with the source, and please don't do it. It's two separate sources. One is flesh and blood, and the other one is spiritual. And I can guarantee you that the real source will not be giving out these kind of crazy psychological commands that you can read in Deuteronomy. Everything from killing kids to killing animals to just straight out murder for no reason. People who never even interacted with them, they've been told to go and murder and kill them.
Yeah, and so this is what the Jesus Revolution was about: getting out from all this this terrible, murderous, disrespectful for consciousness matrix, and that's why he was such a threat to the whole Roman world.
Exactly. Another great point you brought up too, Sasha, was the fact, and I've talked about this so many times on video, I'm glad to hear somebody else confirm it, that I always thought that the Anunnaki were NINMAH used the zygote, in other words, took the egg from an existing hominid, cleaned out the genetic material, and then put in the Anunnaki serum and genetic material combined, and then reinserted it into her own womb to take the baby to come full term and give birth to an actual modern human being. And that is really what I've been talking about for so long, and I've gotten so much heat from saying that, but I think it's exactly what happened according to what I've read in the text. And
the other key is she had to mix it in a vessel of the clay of earth. So we actually have earth DNA in our human bodies.
Whatever minerals.
Human frequency.
Yes, yes, yes,
it
yes.
It would not work until
Brilliant.
she made a clay vessel. I guess she was using...
Wow, that's great. Thank you, Billy.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
432 hertz, man.
And the other thing is, when you look in detail at what the Sumerians wrote, it wasn't just that it was a zygote from a Homo erectus. It was a preparation. Enki and Ningishita had intercourse with some of the women, and they made zygotes, and they added more sperm, and they added more this, and they added more that, and so it was a whole bunch of things, and there was 1,000 years of junk experiments where the creature couldn't speak or couldn't pee and stuff like that.
They call it the
experiments.
admixture. It could be. Oh, hold on, I'm gonna sneeze. We can have more than two parents right now. Heinlein talked about it extensively in his books. He was a scientist and geneticist, and so one of his creations in Time Enough for Love had 23 sets of parents. So we're not exactly sure what they did, but they created this admixture, and it was a combination of DNA from whatever. It could be from Enki, NIMAH, whatever they needed to do. But they kept experimenting many, many generations until the admixture worked. And it had to be, the only way it could come out was in an unlucky female womb. And Enki, who had a political marriage to Damkina, he loved his wife, but he loved NIMAH more than anyone. He had always wanted to marry her, and when he agreed to do the political marriage, he ended up not being able to marry his beloved NIMAH. He was betrothed to her since childhood. They always were going to be married, and they loved each other intensely. So finally, and then she said, well, no, I'm not going to let you put in Damkina. This is my experiment. It's too risky. And so she said, I'm going to have it in my womb. We don't know what's going to happen. And so, and even after the child was born, all the children, she would take them and put them to her breast. There was something about ingesting the birth mother's milk, or even other people's milk. There was no honor if you were a child and they took you to NIMAH, and she would nurse you. So she was nursing a lot of children, and that enhanced them, and somehow a lot of them genetically. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that just based off of the research that I've done, it might even be, when you have the virgin birth of Jesus, and also a lot of people don't realize that Jesus' grandmother was a virgin birth. So Mary's mother was a virgin birth as well. What do we have going on here? Is this more modern time artificial insemination where Anunnaki are mixing their DNA and then embedding them now into a human host to give a full term to an actual hybrid? It's very possible, and also it may even be, that Thoth is the father of Jesus, because when you look in the Emerald Tablets, a lot of the teachings of Jesus match up identically to the words of Thoth in the Emerald Tablets. It's this incredible stuff. So I'm wondering, is he, and I know where Jesus was in Egypt, because when I went to Egypt in 2014, I was actually in the Coptic church that Jesus lived in, and it's a shrine there now where he actually lived during the time where he disappeared from the record. But he was there at the mystery schools. Was he learning the ways of his father Thoth, or is he a reincarnation of Thoth, or genetically did they take the DNA of Thoth and add it to human embryo to make a zygote to reimplant for artificial? It's a combination of something. It's really interesting.
So we're looking at who is the historical Jesus and who is the spiritual Jesus and who was Jesus. And I'll bring one of our. We'll do a show with this, and we'll have you, Billy, on with Glenn Bogue from Canada. He's an attorney, a brilliant man. He's doing the Indigenous rights for the entire Canadian nation, all the way up to the international court. But he's an Anunnaki researcher, and he has this intelligence like a researcher, like an attorney, to get to the details. His theory, and he really backs it up, is that Enki is Jesus, and that NIMAH is Mary, and that the wedding in Canaan was finally they got married because they were forbidden to marry after NIMAH had Ninurta by Enlil. Anu got angry at her and said, "You're forbidden to marry ever." So she was the blackened Madonna. She was, and using the term blackened in that sense was, you were shamed, shunned and shamed. So anyway, I won't go into it because it's he matches up the symbols. One of the ways you can track the different Anunnaki gods is what were they carrying, what were they doing. So he matches up the symbols. And so under this theory, NIMAH is the Lady of Guadalupe, and she's also at Fatima. And so we're wondering, how can this, Virgin Mary, so to speak, have the story of the predictions of the entire 20th and 21st centuries. So it was somebody who had time travel capabilities. And also, one last thing I wanted to add. Let me think 1 second. Oh, goodness, you looked at me and I forgot what I was saying. The Virgin. So the mix up in the Bible about virgin birth is just what you're saying. It's not, when they're referring to virgin, it means there was some kind of intervention. So you look back at, we were talking about Abraham. His wife was 99 years old or something. She couldn't have children. But if there's intervention, then that's, the way that they can give birth to children. I mean, she was way past her bearing, fertile years and being able to bear. Even Abraham. He may not have been fertile at 100 years old, right? So there was some kind of, we're going to give you a child, and those children are enhanced. And just tied into the modern era, we interview a lot of different super soldiers and whistleblowers, and even our own military has the capability of going in and genetically enhancing children in the womb, or when they're newborn, they can add DNA after the fact and change people. So we're living in, we have to think way outside of the box to get the real answers to this, and hopefully we can figure this out, especially at the conference.
All the skyfaring people have the technology to. Even have it's called CRISPR technology, where we could, if we wanted to give you say citronella genes so that mosquitoes wouldn't bite you, we could put it in you and you'd be okay. We could put it in your germ cells and your kids would have citronella skins. And so, but knowing the Anunnaki as I have so intimately, Enki didn't dig the immaculate stuff. He liked the real thing.
Yeah.
Before you continue, I have to say there is a lot of activity in the chat, and we cannot take every question or every comment made in here. But I want to make it clear for all of you out there, if this is something that has waken you up a little bit, then you can meet Janet, Sasha, Billy, and me also at the 6th annual Mars conference in Mobile in Alabama. And I actually think I prepared a little dias with pictures in the background here. There will be.
Where do they sign up?
Sorry,
how do they sign up? Can you put the link in the chat where people can go to sign up?
I'm gonna put the link up in the chat or in this post. But it's easy to remember. MarsMoonSpace.com. That's it. You go to MarsMoonSpace.com and on the right side on the front page there is a picture saying the 6th annual Mars conference. Click on that and you will be guided to where you can get your tickets. And we actually had a discount and 25% for the entrance in February, and we decided to extend it for March also, so you can get 2 days for $75, and you can also donate furthermore $75 and become a VIP guest and go out with the guest and eat dinner, have dinner on a restaurant with all of us. And it's not just us, it's also Andrew Di Basiago, and it's Ken Johnston, former NASA employee, contractee, whistleblower, and it is Brett Conning-Shepard, Karen, Christine, Patrick. William Whitecrow will be there, but he will be there via Skype, so we're not going to meet him unfortunately in person. He has some health issues he needs to take care of, but he will be there on Skype and in spirit together with the rest of us. I did say Andrew D. Bashago will be the keynote speaker at the conference, and the topic will, of course, as the name says it, be Mars, and Billy and Janet and Sasha will point at something like the connection between Anunnaki Mars and ancient Egypt. It's gonna be awesome. So you can still get tickets out there. Go to marsmoonspace.com and get your ticket already now. There is a lot of things going on here in the chat, and there is a few that has written here that the Anunnaki are bad guys. Are Anunnaki the bad guys? I think we already went over that question before.
They're complicated. So some parts of us are bad and some parts of us are good, and some people are more predominantly bad and predominantly good. But I think they're just individually and collectively very complicated. So and we tend to polarize it, say the Enki faction, the Enlil faction, and the Enki faction tended to, want to see humanity die and drown and all that stuff. They're we call them reptilian in nature. Whether they have reptilian DNA, that DNA is a very complicated issue as well. So what did you want to say, Sash, about the good and bad Anunnaki?
The Anunnaki all refer to whoever their enemies are as the evil ones. So just like President Reagan called the Soviets the evil empire, Mr. Khrushchev probably had an equivalent word in Russian for the American empires. That just means, so these are complicated people. Then none of them are all good or all bad, but some of them are more deleterious to our survival than others.
Right.
I think we can compare.
Satan just means adversary. That's all it means. That's the other person. So there is no the Satan. Whoever's the one that is the other side, they are the Satan. They are Satan. That's another mix-up in the Bible that we need to help.
Also, another way of comparing the comment with is saying if you come from another planet, comes to planet Earth in a spaceships and land on the lawn in front of the White House, you would probably get contained and escorted down to a deep underground military base, tested and going through experiments and stuff. And you would probably not feel that you were welcome on Earth. But if you landed in Nepal or Tibet, in front of in an area in the mountains, and some monks saw you up there, they would welcome you and give you food and take care of you. So I think the comment saying all Anunnakis are bad guys, it's not true. It depends on which one or where you are or who you are talking to or how you perceive it or how you react to the presence of those standing in front of you.
As a matter of fact, Prince Marduk, who has been in charge of secretly in charge of the Illuminati on Earth for some time now, has recently told people, Michael Lee Hill and others, that he had to do what he had to do to give us the adversity that we needed to lead us to a technological singularity where we have artificial intelligence enough to be spacefaring. And that Prince Marduk is sad for all the suffering he has caused, and with some pressure from Galzu, from the Federation, he intends to end the wars on Earth, to work with the other Anunnaki who Thoth said he was going to return. He was known as Kukulkan among the Maya in 311 BCE. He said, I'm going to return December 21st, 2012, and I'm bringing with me 13 gods and 9 gods. With gods is the way he talked about the Anunnaki. And we're going to clean up the mess that we left here. You're ready to move to the next level. And it's going to be the age of Aquarius Enki. And it's time to end the, it comes down to this, the precession that you were mentioning at the get-go, Billy. It's time in the precession. The great cycle's over. The Sati Yuga, the hard times are passing. We're entering the golden age for those of us who are ready to dig it.
Indeed. Indeed. Billy, you have been so quiet here the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, we talk too much.
We have no sound on you, Billy.
I said I'm just taking in some great information from some amazing people here. I mean, Dr. Lessin and his wife, Sasha, I've just listened, and Janet. Just amazing source of knowledge and information. So sometimes I got to shut up and be quiet and take in some knowledge too. I can't put it out all the time. You know, I do want to share my screen real quick. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd like to hear.
Okay.
Oh, I just love your research. I want to hear about the stuff that you do and the inner solar system discoveries. It's so exciting.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, we're I'm trying to share my screen here now, Thomas.
Yeah, as soon as it's up, I'm gonna switch over to you.
We all learn from each other. You know, we need each other to bounce things off and to investigate. That's why I love being here. I'm like in the middle of a big wheel, and I talk to everybody, and I learn from everybody, and it just takes the research. I mean, that's so great that we have this internet. I mean, here's Thomas. He's over there in Denmark, and you're in Florida, and we're in Hawaii, and all the listeners, and now we need the different researchers and people who get their pieces, and we create this new paradigm which can bring us out of these dark ages and what we're going through right now. We need to do it because we're at the point where, you know, the Earth isn't going to, well, the Earth will be fine without us, but humanity may not make it. So we've got to do something different. It's,
We got Billy's screen coming up here. I'm just going to switch to your screen now.
I watched all the screen. Wow, that's great.
Can you see the bags, the Anunnaki bags?
Yes.
They got their computers.
They got their computers, their crystals. Yeah, absolutely. So, you know.
I'm sorry, I didn't get to change. Here we go, sorry.
You got it?
Yes, we got it on here live now.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was talking with Thomas one day a few weeks back because I went and saw the movie Hidden Figures. And this is they won all kind of awards. What an amazing movie that was. And in the movie, it was primarily about the space program and how human beings helped NASA. They were the human computers. It was primarily African Americans, actually, that were considered the computers in this section of NASA that would compute everything, because computers didn't even exist yet. The physical hard computer machine didn't exist. Human beings were called computers before the machines existed. And they would have these teams of computers that would calculate trajectories, calculate weights and orbits and splashdown radiuses, everything you could think of. And during this movie, they're going now into the launch tower to do it wasn't to go to the moon. This one was just to test it was like Apollo, the early Apollo mission to just get into orbit. And the astronaut comes out with the bag, with the box, you know. And I said, oh my God, I think this is what the Anunnaki might be depicted holding. So I started going in and looking, and I started saying, man, this is global. Every single continent, you can see an Anunnaki being holding this kind of a bag. So it may have been something that had a combination of their crystal tablets, life support, you know, tools, little technological devices, things you would need if you're going to be getting into, you know, a ship and flying from continent to continent or even planet to planet. And it's just a very interesting correlation between the two. It looks so similar, even to the point where you can see the Anunnaki are wearing a garment. And when they put that mask on, that eagle's head mask, it's not, some people think that it's really an eagle head. It's really just a astronaut's mask, in my opinion, that they're putting on a helmet that they put on for better breathing in different types of atmospheres and so forth. So this is just an amazing correlation that I thought I made between the Anunnaki handbags and real, what we call modern astronauts using a similar device.
Wow. Now I wonder what's in has anybody ever seen what's in those? We should talk to Ken Johnson. What do they carry in those little bags? Well, of course, that was back in, many, many years ago with the Mercury missions, but what do they tend to put in those bags? I wonder if we could find that out, or maybe some listeners know. What do the astronauts, our modern astronauts, have in their bags?
It's like whenever there's an allusion to crystals, we can just as well say computers, computing devices. If you ever look at what's inside your computer, you'll see. Yeah. So when they talk about a series of 21 crystals in the Great Pyramid of Giza, what is it, honey?
Just back up. People can't see you. All they see is the top of your head.
Okay. Anyway, they're really talking about computing devices.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right. Absolutely. I agree 100%. There's a lot of technology involved here, and if you can see the modern at the top here, the modern. Put my mouse over here. These are space shuttle astronauts from modern times, like more recently, early 2000s. They still have the bag. It's a lot smaller than the ones in the Apollo mission. And again, you look at the Anunnaki, theirs are small as well. But you see that they still have these bags. This is something that astronauts carry.
They carry. I wonder if those the smaller bags carry what we know as MEs. The MEs, the MEs. What are they? They're computer programs. Are they like disk or zip drives or USB things?
The first comment here is saying lipstick.
Lips. Yes.
Lipstick.
Let's have our lipstick and mascara.
Yeah,
For when we
it's possible. Oh, hey. Who knows? But I really believe that this has something to do with it. There's a similarity here that just can't be ignored.
Yeah.
Right.
Good find.
Indeed, there is.
Mm-hmm.
Have anything else for us, Billy?
What'd you say, Janet?
Any other images for us? That's an excellent image, by the way.
Oh, any other images? No, this was the main one that I wanted to show. I didn't want to show too much stuff before the actual event in Alabama before the conference. But this was one of the main ones that I wanted to show. And I have a couple of tricks up my sleeve for the conference also.
We are looking
forward
to that.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you finished sharing your screen now?
Yes. Let me go back and stop sharing. And we should be back.
Yes, we are back. And I think that we are not far from the end of today's live stream. Again, we ask to the listeners out there, what's in those handbags? Come with an answer or suggestion in the live chat here. While we are still on, we will be here 5-10 minutes. Still, we're not leaving yet.
Any other comments or questions? In the chat, I'm not able to see the chat.
No, there is a lot of comments and there is some questions also. One of the comments I also noticed was Harry writing, Jesus was the grandchild of Cleopatra and Caesar.
Okay, I had never heard that before.
No, I'm not sure.
I think that's too. I think that's that would be too new in terms of years. That would be more modern and versus thousands of years ago. I think it would be 900 years or something like that ago. I don't know if that's possible. I mean, we have to look into it. I couldn't say for sure, but I just don't. I've never heard that before.
Ask him to send his material to us, his hypothesis, his theory, so we can look into it. Yeah.
If we have a little time, one thing I didn't get a chance to rap about because I only gave you 4 slices. I'd like to tell you a little bit about the deluge.
I think we should just wait on that because we're almost done with the show, and like Billy said, we got to save something for the conference.
We don't reveal everything. We need to save something for those coming. I know you, Sasha. You're a good-hearted man, and you can talk for hours. And I'm pretty sure we will get live with you again, and we will hear lots of your. We will have lots of your knowledge shared with the people around the world.
Really, what else did you want to share today? We didn't get to hear from you much.
I mean, that was pretty good, guys. I mean, I think you guys really covered a lot. And I think that right now we went so long that, you can't really keep the people on more than an hour. Otherwise, you start losing them. See, it's dropped down to 38 viewers now. So I think that we covered enough. And we told the people, what we're going to be, where we're going to be in May 6th, 7th, and 8th at the 6th Annual Mars Conference please come out. Please, find out about getting a ticket and bringing somebody with you. This is a, once in a lifetime chance to meet some people who are really credible in the field, that know what they're talking about, that have done the research, that have been vetted, and that can really help you get a better understanding of what the true ancient history is on this planet of mankind. And I think that's just part of the enlightenment and elevated consciousness process. I think that learning about the past is extremely, extremely key to knowing where we're going to be in the future. And it always goes back to the same quote that I always use: he who does not know the past is destined to fail in the future. A lot of people always tell me in comments, forget about the past. Why do you keep talking about the past? Well, if you don't know the past, you can't move. You can't make the right moves. You're going to fall into the same cyclical cycle over and over again. And it's time for us to break this cycle. It's time for us to snap out of this loop and get to the next level. And it's going to take having a complete understanding of the past to know what's going to come, because the past always can predict what's coming in the future. I watched an amazing show on Gaia by Greg Braden. It's called Missing Links. And they went to Antarctica and they took these cores, these ice cores, like 60, 70, 100 feet down into the ice, and pulled up these gigantic ice cores, took them to the lab, and for every slice, it was like 100 years. So they went back thousands and thousands of years, and they were able to find every different type of temperature, levels of oxygen, different types of gases in the atmosphere. They were able to detect global flooding. They were able to detect ash, which would be fires on the planet. I mean, everything you could think of, and even global warming, they were able to detect. And what happens, they put this thing on an actual scale, and this is actually vetted, scientifically proven material that's been published and peer-reviewed. So it's peer-reviewed science, which makes it very important. They were able to create a graph that shows planetary warming and then the dip back into cooling. So with this cycle that was shown, it almost matches to Nibiru Nemesis orbits, and it also tells you that there is a cycle in place of global heating and global warming that is been going on for thousands and thousands. This is not cows taking poops and your gas tank putting out exhaust. That's a very small amount of it. This is a planetary and solar system wide, forget planet, it's a solar system wide event that's happening. And it's because of these spatial bodies that are out there orbiting our sun, creating gravitational waves that are warming up all the planets. So this is incredible stuff. And you're going to learn a lot more about this if you come out to the 6th Annual Mars Conference in Mobile, Alabama. Go to marsmoonspace.com. Get your ticket. This is an event you don't want to miss. We're going to bring out some information to you guys that you've never seen or heard before. And I think it's going to be some real earth-shattering disclosure that we're going to bring to the people that's going to resonate for a very long time. So I highly recommend you check us out. Come out there and go to marsmoonspace.com and try to get some tickets.
And yeah, we're going to connect the dots. I was just going to say we're going to connect the dots like no other group, because this group is phenomenal that's coming together. And when you come to a conference, we're going to be hanging out together for days. So we're going to have what we present, but the revelations we have when we're having dinner together, or just hanging out in a room together. So all those things we're going to bring to the forefront. I call it connecting the dots, because we all have pieces of the puzzle, and it's one big giant puzzle. I just want to say, ironically, I worked with those core samples at Penn State University, so they were doing them. If Penn State did it, they were probably doing these around the planet. But they're very deep, and they would lay down a whole series of tables in a giant room, and so we were running the analysis. But I didn't understand what was going on at the time. That was back in the late 80s, early 90s. I would love to know what the results probably would correlate with the others around the planet. There are probably many universities that do the same thing. Now, one of the primary things they were doing was monitoring pollution, how the farmers' insecticides were on the crops and working their way into the well waters, into the water systems, how they were poisoning entire populations by watering their crops up mountain and it running downstream into the aquifers. So this is important research, and if you could send us the links to that, although everything on Gaia pay for. If there's anything like on YouTube for free, that would be great. I'd say, some of the greatest research is going on these shows like Gaia, but it's just another way to monetize what, and I'm going to use a should be given to the planet to help us save the entire planet for the human.
Well, the problem that you have, the reason why they have to charge, and it's a very good point that you bring up, because a lot of people ask me that. One thing you have to realize, for example, missing links. Each episode costs between $15,000 to $20,000 to produce the episode. So now you have 10, 15 episodes. Then you have 3 or 4 series, okay? And now multiply that by 7,000 videos. You're talking millions of dollars. Then the streaming fees per month are almost $200,000 now per month, just for the bandwidth being used from people watching the videos. Somebody has to pay for that. So like when I go to Guide to take, and then when they go to request images to use in the shows, they've got to pay licensing fees for these images. They got to pay these other places who took their actual video fees, and even residual, in some cases, fees, residual income from using it every time it airs. So it turns into a multi-million-dollar thing, and they haven't even made a profit yet. They've still burn rate is over $120,000 a month. That's the burn rate. So that's with 180,000 members. So that's why it's 99 cents to sign up, and it's only 33 cents a day. But you're getting, the reason why it's important is because you're getting vetted material. It's triple vetted. In other words, it's looked at by 3 different sources and research before it's actually put out. So you're getting the highest quality content you can possibly get before it's presented to the general public. And it reduces the amount of research that a busy person who's got her life and kids and work and everything else may not have time to go out there. Because if you go to a YouTube video, now you got to research what the person in the YouTube video is doing. It's triple research, but sometimes it's a lot easier. And it's member supported, so, and it's optional. Now, there's a lot of free videos. There's over 1,000 free videos on Gaia, and thousands of free articles and blogs. I'm one of the writers as well. And actually, this Missing Links episode is actually free. I'll send it to you. But that's why there is a fee. That's why there's a fee. It's not because they want to make a lot of money. They haven't made any money. It's just it's the best they can do.
The same with Ron James and iVolve TV. We've been on iVolve, and the same thing. It's just the regular television, they monetize it, and then it's basically available everywhere. But it's a shame because this information, I understand their story, but this information needs to get out to the world en masse somehow.
Somebody's got to send them a check for $1 billion so they can do this for free. Because these people who are doing all the work, they got to go home and take home. They got to buy diapers for their kids. They got to bring home milk to their babies, and all this kind of stuff. So it's not that easy. I wish it was, because it really would be great if we can do this. If Nikola Tesla's bloodline controlled this planet, everything would be free.
Well, that's another subject. But we've been talking about the basic minimum economy. That's another whole story. Karen and I have been discussing that on our shows. But let's stay on. Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead, Thomas.
I think that we could do another live stream during the next week and continue where we left here. And we're going to end it for now, because otherwise we're going to keep you hostage here for the next many hours. But
put it up on Aquarian Radio, people. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, remember, when the video is over, click on Get Live Notification. It is a little button that pops up as soon as the video ends. Then you will get a notification every time there is a live video on Anunnaki History page. And Janet, give us your links to Aquarian Radio.
Aquarianradio.com. www.aquarianradio.com and EnkiSpeaks.com. Those are the 2 primary sites. We also have extraterrestrialcontact.com, which has all the spillover that doesn't fit into those categories. And I know, Billy, you have some websites.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are your
Forbidden Knowledge, forbiddenknowledge.com with the number 4, BIDDEN, forbiddenknowledge.com. And you can find me on Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, just about any social, Flickr. I mean, anywhere you go, just type in Forbidden Knowledge. YouTube, you'll find Forbidden Knowledge. I even have a mobile app, and I even have music that's encoded by 428 hertz and 432 hertz on iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, you know, Spotify, you name it. I'm everywhere. So check it out, guys.
You are the social media. we call it the Billy Media.
And connect you with Michael Gale sometime, Billy. He does the 432 megahertz music as well, and
nice.
So you have to jam at one of our future conferences.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, he's not a researcher. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to add some links also to the guys viewing out there. You can go to my website, marsmoonspace.com, where you also can find this video here and another, or a lot of other Anunnaki-related videos. Some of them me and Billy made together, and you can go to Mars Moon Space TV page on Facebook and find a lot of. There is also some Anunnaki-related videos and articles you can find there and share from there. But I normally mostly do Mars, Moon anomalies and interviews with whistleblowers. You can find a lot of that also on my YouTube channel. That's called, guess what? Mars Moon Space TV. Pretty easy to remember. Go there, subscribe now, and see all the videos that me and Billy have made together. And I know there is 2 others with Janet and Sasha, where we are talking together also. I want to say thank you to all the viewers out there. Thank you to all those wonderful people who have commented in the chat. It has been awesome. We have got some really good comments here, and a lot of people have written here at the end, great show, great knowledge, and thank you for sharing your knowledge to Janet, Sasha, and Billy. To those that has participated in the chat, thank you from the bottom of our heart for taking part in this journey. Remember, click get live notification in just 10 seconds. Or no, wait, when we are finished here, I'm gonna put the Mars video on again with sound. It probably gets cut off due to copyright issues that only works on YouTube. But until then, take care. Bye.
Aloha.
Take care, aloha.
And let me just find the Mars conference video here so we can cut our sound off. Here we go. Take care out there.
Cool.
Bye.